Welcome to the Mado podcast today. Today I have with me, super excited to have Kaleab with me. Kaleab, welcome to the Mado podcast.
Thank you for having me, Jonas.
Awesome. So do you have a nickname that you go by, or is it Kaleab?
Over here, they call me Kal, Kalish, or Kalab. In the States or like abroad, since they cannot like pronounce the K, they usually go for Caleb or Kal. So yeah,
Okay. So they go for Cal or Caleb. Um, and I
I'm okay with
guess
that one.
you're cool with whatever. You're down for whatever works. Okay, sounds good. Um, so tell me a little bit about. I'm looking at man. I'm looking at your experience. I'm looking at your education. So tell me who is Cal? Like who is Caleb? Like
Kalab or Caleb is born and has been born and raised in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. I went to my elementary, middle, and high school at Gibson Youth Academy here in Addis, and fortunately, I had the chance to apply and go abroad for my undergrad studies. I went to upstate New York at State University of New York, where I studied international business administration and had minors in economics and global supply chain. I would say that it's been a very eye opening and insightful 4 years for me because as I was doing my studies, I was pretty active on campus. My first position was as a resident assistant or an RA, which is a pretty big, I guess, title in the dorm life and then on campus. Um, I got the position during my second year, the beginning of my second year, which is kind of rare from an international student because they kind of want you to like wait it out, get familiarized with the campus and everything. But yeah, because of that position, I put myself out there, and it was basically trial by fire, where I had to, work on my leadership skills, communication skills, management, and all of those good stuff. And towards the end of my stay on campus, I became the assistant of the accounting and economics dean of our campus, who is Mohammed Gaber. His name is Mohammed Gaber. He's from Egypt, so we kind of connected on. We were both international, and he really liked my drive. So basically, I was his right hand side, and I believe I've attached his recommendation to your colleague Fabian. So yeah, and upon graduating, I graduated fall of 2021, and things were not as I thought. Like after graduating, because the the year prior to us, during 2020, was COVID, and a lot of international students applied for the OPT, or like the employment application of international students. So there was a lot of backlog from our seniors. So things were not as easily accessible for me. So I decided, you know what, let me just go back to my home country. I have my degree. I got what I came here for. So I came back to Addis. And to my surprise, my degree had so much value over here. I don't regret it one bit because the first 6 months, I freelanced, where I also had the chance to work with a UK client called Open Sensors. Mm, but it wasn't like registered in the government, so I wasn't paying tax or anything like that. So it was kind of iffy for me, and was kind of like a wake up call. I was like, how long am I going to do this like freelance gig? And after that, I applied to MMCY Tech, because some of my high school friends were employed. I knew when I was there in the States they were employed in MMCY Tech, so I was like, let me take a look at it, and I got employed as the internal project scheduler, which was a pretty big position because you had to work with like all of the client facing people of MMCY Tech on one-on-one basis. So I was responsible to making sure they had their times logged, their client email communications were like ended on their end. So making sure that client satisfaction was also like good. And yeah, because of that, I just like my network grew so much, so much larger. Um, so yeah, and after that, I believe I was there was a client called OneNiche.ai. It's an AI company based in London and Ireland. So that company signed a partnership with MMCY Tech, and they were looking for like these account managers to just like hop on it. And I was like, you know what, like wow, I know how the client facing job works because I've seen it on a lot of the people I've worked with. So I was like, why don't I just take the lead on this one? And my boss was more than willing to just put me out there. So I had the interview, and I finally started working as a dedicated resource at OneNiche.ai for the past 8 months.
Okay, nice.
Already.
Yeah, this is. I mean, that's a good like overview of all the different things that you're doing, um, and I'm definitely gonna start digging into a little bit of the some of your experiences because it's fascinating to me. Um, so, how did you find your college experience, like being in I think you said upstate New York? Like, was that very new for you? How did you enjoy it? Like, how did you find college in general?
So I've always had a dream of just going somewhere, not America. Like I had no place in mind, but I just wanted to get that international perspective. And in my household, I'm a firstborn, so like my parents had to like experience it with me at the same time. So when I went there, everything was new: the weather, the people, the culture, and it was just overwhelming, especially for like during my first semester. But fortunately, I had a few friends that came with me, so I'm not gonna lie, that made it a lot easier for me to, it's really good to have someone you call your own at the end of the day. So I
So
was
you
I
had friends. You had friends that came from Ethiopia with you.
basically, yeah, friends. We became like friends and like ended up becoming like family. But I did not know them while I was here because we came from
Okay, so you're just like, oh, there's an Ethiopian. Okay,
oh yeah,
we're yeah,
like
we're friends now.
not a
Guess
shock.
what? Yeah, we're together forever.
Yeah, so
Okay,
with them I was Eritrean.
yeah, that makes so. I mean, because there's so much common ground, right? There's so much
There
common
is,
ground. You just become friends instantly.
especially
Um,
if it's like your first exposure somewhere else. I feel like having
yeah,
someone to call on your own is good.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Oh, that's awesome. So, you said there was a massive backlog, um, with the application system and etc. So, tell me a little bit about that because I came to Canada. Canada has a bit of a different,
Hmm.
um, I think, approach. Maybe it's the same. I don't know, but tell me a little bit about it. So, do you apply and then you get accepted? Like, what's the process like in the States?
It's basically like kind of similar. If you're talking about college applications, a lot of people use Common App because you can apply to 20 different colleges to in North America through that like space. But
Yeah.
you could but yeah, so I've used Common App. Like I haven't really applied through specific links of the colleges, but Common App was like a very good medium for me. I had to like write my own paper, application paper, and stuff like that. So yeah, it made it easier for me to apply to more than one college at the same time.
So you just gave me some information I didn't even know. Interesting enough, my question, but yeah, like I didn't know. So anybody who's hearing this, common app is where it's at. Just so you know, you heard it from Caleb here first. So
Yeah.
everybody, I guess the my question to rephrase it in a bit of a different way. That when you finish college, like what does the process look like? Let's say you want to stay in the States or so you said like because of COVID there was like a backlog of
Mm.
applications, so I was curious about that process. Like what does that look like?
So for international students, you get to apply to of a form called OPT. Uh, Basically, it's like a work permit that allows you to work after graduating. So if you're graduated with a STEM degree, like science, technology, like English and math, I think, you get a 3 year OPT. If you're outside of that, you get a 1 year OPT. So for me, it would have been a 1 year stay. and let's say you start working and your company likes you and they start sponsoring you, then you can continue like with your employment. But yeah, for me, I graduated in 2021, and like I said, during COVID, the my peers who graduated in 2020 had their like OPT applications like I guess paused. So when by the time we applied for it, a lot of just the paperwork and applications were just taking too much time. I know some of my friends. I was just impatient and I just left, but I know my friends got their OPT like 8 months or like 7 months later after graduating, which is like almost a full year basically. By then I had
Yeah.
yeah, work experience. So yeah,
Okay. That's fascinating. Okay, so you have your experience. You travel, you see, a part of the world in the states, which is amazing. And then you come back, you start freelancing.
Mhm.
Um, so you went to college, I'm assuming, for 4 years.
four
Is
years.
that
Yeah.
okay? So when you came back, like, did you find anything different about Ethiopia? Was it, or I guess it depends on how much you travel back and forth as well.
I
So can you
traveled
speak?
every summer. When I tell you every summer I was here,
Okay.
except for my third year summer because I had like an on-campus internship. But other than that, I made sure to even go on winter breaks. I had celebrated Ethiopian Christmas and over here, and then I just go back. Um, yeah,
Okay,
so
you're living the bougie life, like because yeah, like
I
because
had to
that
work
that is
on campus and just like cover my flight expenses.
oh okay okay okay
Like
okay.
parents
So
gave
you're
me so
grinding.
much.
I
Yeah,
respect it. I respect it. I'm not gonna because especially with fights like they're so expensive, and then you go on the other side and you spend so much money. So sometimes it's always like okay, like
but I
how's
think
this
if
gonna
you sorry, I cut you off. But I think if
go
you
ahead, no, go
have
ahead.
that intent in you, like for example, I plan on going to Ethiopia. Like if I plan on going to Ethiopia, like I work towards it like months earlier and like get the ticket when it's like really cheap, you know. So yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and I respect that. I think it really translates well into, knowing what you want and kind of having a solid plan and working towards that, which
yeah.
is, I mean, a really admirable trait to have. So I guess the other aspect I wanted to discuss is you worked as a content writer and then down the line as a project. Did you work as a project
Like,
account
yeah.
manager at MMCY Tech? So can you speak a little bit about that role? Like,
Content writing, I wouldn't say I worked on it like so much because that was how I entered MMCY. The marketing director liked me and another girl called Meron out of everyone who applied because I think he gave us like a topic to write on something, and I chose because I did my research on MMCY. I chose to write like an about us page. I know when you go to like different company website, you see the about us page. So he loved it so much that he ended up just like, this is really good. So he hired both of us, but 3 weeks in, the Manny, who is like the owner of MMCY, he's a pretty big guy, uh, not figuratively, but like he's pretty big in the company. So he was like, we don't need two content writers at the same time. So let's move this one. He has a business education background, and so that's how I ended up moving from content writing. But I worked very briefly in content writing at MMCY Tech, less than a month.
okay, and then what is what was account management like for you? Like, did you oversee some people who are client facing? Like, what was the role like?
So I was responsible, I was BCC'd on almost every like client communication with these account managers. So through them, I learned how to communicate with clients and how to keep these conversations on our end, whether it's to say like thank you or you're welcome, just making sure that we do our best and like making sure like as the project manager or like as the account manager, making sure that like you come forth perfect because the client is always right at the end of the day. There might be some incidents where like they can get on your nerve or like they might switch up on their like requirements and needs. So through these account managers, I sat and observed basically of their day to day. So when I was an account manager myself for OneReach, I was like able to maneuver like easily, you know. So yeah, hope
Okay.
that answers your question.
Yeah, I think it does. In a sense, like now that you're a project manager or an account manager, so is it, are you an account manager with OneReach or are you a project manager?
So I feel like these terms are used very interchangeably for in MMCY Tech. We're only called account managers because instead of projects, we're handling accounts. So through OneReach, I handled many accounts, four of which were like pretty big accounts, such as Catronics, Haley Marketing Group, and these are like international like clients that OneReach AI has. So the approach you use for project management, you just apply for account management, kind of. So yeah, a lot of people think it's related to accounting. No, it's just you're handling accounts basically. You're managing these accounts
Okay. Um,
slash projects.
Good. Yeah. So I, I guess some people might not know and might be curious about your English. So I can see that you speak English at a really high level. Um, can you speak to how they that came about?
Well, I'm gonna keep it very real and honest. I'm a language fanatic. I'm growing up. I've always been really bad at math or like physics. I used to even have like a phobia when I see these like workout like parts. So my and I have fortunately I have a mother who really is also like me. Like she communicates well. She articulates herself very easily, both in writing and speaking. So I kind of took over her like her influence. So and she I think invested in me. So at an early young age, I used to remember going to like English enhancement classes at like seventh grade summer, like you know. So yeah, I do a lot of reading as well, and I learned Arabic and Spanish in college as well because, like I said, I love languages and I became well versed in both, especially
Y-
Arabic.
Arabic and Spanish.
Yeah,
You just learned it. You just
I
woke
learned
up
it.
one day and you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna pick up these two
Yeah,
languages because yeah, they're just here. Why not? Okay.
and there was a
I
lot of Spanish and Arab community on campus, so it was easier for me to just like talk to. Let's say I see like someone from Iran or like Yemen or like in Masr, Egypt. I just go marhaba kif halik. So I like started practicing it like in like face to face.
yeah, yeah.
That just was perfect for me. I love language. I love words. Uh,
Wow. Okay, multilingual. So, what's your level of proficiency though? Like, how good how good are you when it comes to like Arabic
so
or
in Arabic, I
Spanish?
would say I'm pretty proficient. Like I can listen very well and speak very well as well. But my regarding writing and reading, I'm not confident at it at all because Arabic has like this like italic form of writing, which is kind of complicated. If you're not like Muslim and you don't read the Quran as much, you wouldn't like pick up on it very quickly. With Spanish as well, like I can you use English words for that, so I can read, write, listen, but like my comprehension is a bit lower compared to Arabic. So I can hold conversation, but like not very serious conversations. Like I can get by, you know.
Yeah. Okay. You can't. You probably couldn't sell something to somebody and
Mm,
convince them to buy, but you could probably like,
just hold it casual
have a
conversation.
casual conversation. Yeah. 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 Okay.
That one has
I
more
mean,
room for improvement, I would say.
okay. I mean, it's still very impressive that you're able to pick up languages and you know,
And Amharic has
yeah.
also like has always been one of
Yeah, I'm like, okay, don't forget
um,
so is Amharic your mother tongue then? Like, is that your first language? Okay, um, because I think, well, I maybe this is not a very good global sentence to make, but I've definitely found that less you use it, you tend to forget some languages, right? Like even with your Amharic, if you don't use it as much, after a while, you start kind of like, can I know this language? Like, what the
very.
heck? Why am I?
I have the perfect remedy for that. Like I did like my own research. Like I said, I'm a whole like geek when it comes to language. So the I would say like what I always advise like my friends, my brothers, like everyone is just when you speak in a specific language, don't mix it. ስለዚህ እኔ በአማርኛ ስናገር ከእንግሊዝኛ ቃላቶች ጋር አልቀላቅለውም። ግን ብዙ ጊዜ ካየኸው ሰዎች ላይክ ምናምን እያሉ they just start to like
Yeah. So you think that's one of the problems, like if they don't speak an Amharic or a certain language like you just did earlier, pure without mixing other words from other languages in. Okay, you
it's
yeah.
የተበላሸ ይመጣል እየረሳው
Okay.
ሀገሩን
Yeah, and whoever like is listening who does not know Amharic, he's not saying anything important. Just so you know, he's just saying random stuff. Okay, so he's just making his point.
yeah.
Because people are like, "Oh my god, I don't understand what the heck is he
Yeah,
saying?" It's like,
what
no,
I
it's
just said
just
was if the more you mix and match words from different languages, you're just gonna become like just average in both.
yeah,
So the best
facts.
way to do it is just speak one specific language without mixing it with like the other.
Okay. I mean, this is super exciting. Like I feel like you have a very bright future ahead of you. Really good education, really good, experience as well. Yeah, and I think you mentioned that. So do you travel still? Like, do you go back and forth? I heard from the states.
I do. So almost all my family lives in the states now, except for my mom, my grandparents, my dad, my siblings. Everyone is there. So yeah, I do have to go back to just like finish up my paperwork. So that which is why I'm looking for positions that require full online,
Like remote, yeah. You're looking
like
for remote roles, yeah.
remote roles.
And sorry, I think I cut you off. Like long term, do you have a sense for where you want to settle, or are you feeling the digital nomad kind of lifestyle? Like, so what's your
I mean, I love to travel. I've also had the chance to, in the past 2 years, to go to different countries that are not that outside the U.S. As you may know, like North America, like Canada and the U.S., like have their own kind of like bubble when it comes to just like culture and like way of thinking. So for me, I do want to like go to other places, but life wise, I do want to come at the end of the day, just come back to Addis and like make a living here. So that is like my vision. But I also plan on doing like grad school at some point. So I know that like my future for the next 3, 4, 5 years are gonna be like everywhere.
okay? Yeah, I mean, different. You're young, so you're getting different experiences, and you're
As much as
growing
I
in your career. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I can definitely see how all of that will work. Amazing. I think yeah. So how do you find? I guess one thing I'm curious about being away from Ethiopia for a while, um, and I guess I also grew up in a very different environment. Even though I look young, I finished college 10 years ago, so that dates me a little bit. Uh, yeah. So how do you find living in Addis right now? Like, what do you enjoy about it? What do you find not maybe as enjoyable or different from, let's say, living in New York or DC, etc.?
yeah, it has its pros and cons, but for me the pros outweigh the cons because Addis is a city of high potential and especially if you have an international background, I think you can do so much and like you can see like the outcome of your work right there kind of whereas if you're living in the states or Canada, which I'm sure you know, like you just end up becoming another graduate and like it just takes away from like the uniqueness of your experience because there's so many international students like you who are staying there and like who are trying to make it and yeah, so Addis gives me the freedom to work on my experience and just like make change like on my country basically.
Okay. Yeah. So it was really nice to get this opportunity to have this chat, Caleb. Like, so thank you for being a guest today on our podcast, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. This has been so fun chatting with you on us. Thank you for
Awesome.
having
See you. Yeah, see you soon. Thanks.